I'm April Pettyjohn, and this is Follow the Leader Homeschool Education. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Follow the Leader Homeschool Education. I am so honored that you have chosen to take time to listen today and to watch, and I have my great friend Casey Gibbons here with me today. Casey was my former youth pastor's wife, which I just want to give so much credit to all the youth pastor wives. They are the unsung heroes, and we love them so much, which I know you're shocked because we look like we're the same age. I actually reached out to Casey like maybe a year ago. I feel like our lives overlap once like every year or so. And I reached out to her and I'm like, how does your skin look so amazing? Can you give me some tips? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Because I was like, you look
awesome.
Yours looks
great. I think whatever you're doing is probably what I'm doing. Did I ever answer you on that?
Okay, you did. Okay, you're like, lots of water. And I'm like, okay, guzzle the water.
Stay out of the sun, lots of water. Yes. Take your makeup off every night.
I love the sun, so I'm just in for it, but I can't help it. So anyways, I'm really just so thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun conversation. Casey is a longtime homeschool mom. She has 6 kiddos, so much wisdom to bring to the table. So you guys are going to want to lean in and share with a friend for sure. So we're going to get started with some fun lightning round questions.
Okay.
We already had a sneak peek at these beforehand, and
I was laughing
really
just at the questions. So
they're really fun.
Bringing back memories.
All right. So I asked Casey, have you had any family devotion disasters? Which this is a little bit exposing because her husband is a pastor. So, we all have this picture in our mind that you guys are just sitting around the fireplace every night having these beautiful family devotions. Yes. That's what it looks like, right?
Following every page, doing every little activity it says. And my children never disobey, ever. No, I think every family devotional has like some kind of disaster in the sense that there's either somebody's sick or somebody's misbehaving or somebody's running late, or I just don't feel good, or my husband is tired from the day. But I think just the consistency of doing it, knowing it's messy for everybody, pastors' families, and families that have a lot of kids like, oh, I've been doing this 20 years. I'm like, somehow we still have to correct. Now, it does get easier.
Yeah.
But especially when they are under 10 years old, it's just you're teaching and teaching and training and training. So a lot of the family devotionals for years was like that. Now our kids are 23, 22, 20, 18, 15, and 11. So the only squirrely one is probably the 11-year-old, or one of our girls tends to like to go to the bathroom a lot if she didn't like sitting there that long. So there's also, and then some are like, wow, this has been great, and so they're busier. So either they're busy or they are, want to just move a little bit, or then my 11-year-old taps out if the topic gets too deep. But early on, to answer your question, the first thing that popped in my mind was the kids were probably 7 and under, and it was October, and it was more of a family dinner, but I was trying to lead a devotional thought at the dinner table, which often can be good because everyone's eating and you're trying to lead. And I was like, well, it's October. I have something I want to talk about. We usually have a theme for every month. Well, I didn't think about the fact that I'm at that time in my 30s, and these are 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds. I brought up the topic of spiritual warfare and demonic activity at the dinner table. And I'm thinking they need to know this because it's demonic month. Like, we need to be very aware that we are not doing Halloween. We are doing fall harvest. We can do costumes, we can do pumpkins, but we are not doing all the other stuff, right? Well, it just did not go over well.
Did you have kids sleeping in your room for a while?
Oh, my word. Kids were, for a week, at least a good week, the topic kept coming up. And then at the table, 1 or 2 of them started tearing up and crying. But I didn't stop because I was like, well, that's part of the reality. That's why we all need Jesus. And my husband's like,
Mom.
He's looking, he was like, doing his head light, and I was like, what? They need to know this. Like, if I don't tell them, who will? So I was just a little ahead of maybe where their age was ready. And so finally my husband said, okay, wow, this has been so enlightening. And so he just stopped me cold, the 2 that were crying. And then like the other, I guess we had 5 at that time. 1 was a baby. So I think maybe 3 or 4 of them were scared for a long time. So
That's great.
It just wasn't the right year to
That's
introduce
great.
that.
I love what you said about consistency though too. And ours definitely feels like Jacob and Esau more with like the boys just wanting to make it WrestleMania every time.
I'm sure.
How does it always turn into WrestleMania? I don't know, but it does. But I think, yes, just keeping it consistent, doing something and realizing that it doesn't always have to be like forced into the same time every day. Like you might have that idea in your head of it always needs to be like right after dinner. And it's not always going to look that way. It might not accommodate your schedule well.
Right.
So we've been doing ours in the morning a lot. Rusty tries to connect with the boys before bed because he's not here in the morning. He's at work. So you make it work. You make it work for your schedule.
And your schedules change. Something that we did for devotions was Chit Chat Chocolate. And that was, we're chatting, we're eating chocolate, and it was a devotional thought. But I only planned that for 3 times a week because then I wasn't failing if I didn't do it 5 times because some days were different. And then when we had, that was because we had 5 girls, and then we had a son. He didn't really want to call it that. And so we still have consistent teaching times with a theme, but it would look different depending on the day of the week. And then the topic would be like, hey, for the month of January, we're talking about this. So I had a whole month to cover that topic. So then if I missed the whole week because we're sick, we're traveling, it's like, well, we have a whole month to cover this. In February, we talked about like relationships. Well, that was sibling relationships, grandparent relationships, friend relationships. And then I would throw in there boy-girl relationships just to introduce thoughts that I would want to set patterns for the future. But it wasn't like I've got one chance to teach this one very big topic. It's like a lot of grace and space.
Yeah, and you're building in that time. I love that. You're building in that time because it's inevitable that somebody's going to be sick. Somebody's going to just be exhausted, or there's going to be a birthday party thrown in or something. And you have to allow for that. So
so good.
That's so wise. Okay. Second question. What's something that you love to tell your kids about the good old days when you were a kid? I think as my kids are getting older, they're starting to ask like, tell us about the 80s, Mom.
The 1980s.
What were the 80s and 90s
And I was
like?
born in the 70s, so that's so far back. I like to tell my children about life before having an ability to call me or to call a parent. I would say, like, I didn't call my mom and dad. Like, you didn't know if you were like, I'm looking as a parent and as a child. So back then I didn't think twice about it. But as a parent, I'm like, you just wouldn't have known where your kid was, how they were doing. Did they make it somewhere? What time did they be picked up? And in a lot of ways, it was the good old days because you just trusted the Lord. You were very present as a child. You weren't texting and calling and have this fear of like, what if my phone dies or mom and dad don't know? It was literally like, well, I went to school. I went to ball practice. We had a game or we had youth group following that. And then at like 10 or 11 at night, you just go to a payphone or find like a plugged in phone like from the school or the church and you please come and get me. And there was a freedom to that.
There was.
Where I wasn't afraid that if I didn't have a way to communicate with my parents, I was fine. And I think that was kind of some good old days of just feeling the freedom to be confident as a kid, you know, even in elementary school.
That feels so foreign though. Doesn't that feel foreign?
Yes.
I mean, they cannot conceptualize.
That they couldn't just text and say, pick this up or here I am or I'm afraid or I feel this or I need. Yeah, it was just you had to own it yourself and you had to figure out life without always being super dependent. Now there's obviously some benefit to like the safety of it or, oh, I like that communication. But in a lot of ways, it was just like you were just very present and not afraid.
Yeah. A lot of our conversation centers around music because I had a lot of transition because we definitely started like with cassette tapes and then quickly moved to CDs. And then the iPods were huge. Like when iPods came out, I mean, that was a thing if you had an iPod. Yes. So we talk a lot about how music has changed over the years and they think it's hilarious.
Do you remember the CD Walkman or like you have where you could like a portable CD player?
Yes.
Wasn't just the big
Clip
one.
it onto your belt.
Yes, and that CD.
So cool.
But if you bumped it too much, it would skip because it was a CD. Yeah. All those things.
I love it.
And I think records are coming back now.
Oh, I have
this generation
I have
of
a
kids.
record player.
Do you?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have a decent collection of
That's
vinyl.
so fun. Yeah, those are coming back.
I still am mesmerized by how a record player works. I think it's amazing. So, all right, what has been your most memorable family vacation?
Well, we just took the most memorable one. That would have been in 2024. So it's been about 2 years, but our oldest daughter graduated college overseas. And so we went for the graduation, all 8 of us, which we had never taken an overseas trip. And really, as pastors and homeschoolers and just busy life, we are not even, let's travel to Europe type people. Like I had never been over there. I have done missions trips to places like Haiti or Jamaica or Mexico, but nothing like England. And so she graduated from a school in England. And so it was just fun to be like, we're all going to get to go. So it was a trip of a lifetime, which my husband's like, hey, this is like trip of a lifetime.
Right.
Not like we're going to be doing this every year from now on. Although I would love it. I've been now a few times just by myself or to go with my daughter. I was just there like a week and a half ago, but nothing was like taking the whole family and introducing our children to the culture and to the experiences of being in England. So that was our favorite trip by far.
Oh, I love that. This is very, very small, and I've talked about it before on the show, but we love Dauphin Island as a family, and it's just in Alabama. I
don't know where that is.
It's so small. It's this tiny, tiny little town. I call it Mayberry on the beach, but it's so slow, and it is our favorite place to go. It's so restful. Like we come back and we're like, I'm ready to go. Like I feel so rested and like rejuvenated when I actually get back. We are not theme park people. We're not, I'm sorry, we're not Disney people. We're just not. We get so stressed and frantic when we're in those places and we come back absolutely exhausted, and that does not like speak vacation to me. So when we're going away, we're looking for actual like rest and rejuvenation.
Yes. You might want to go to the city of Oxford. It's very much like you can just go to an art museum. There wasn't anything really entertaining necessarily for our children, but like we're going to go walk in this park. We're going to stop and have coffee.
Yes.
We're going to, we did go horseback riding in the English countryside.
That
was like a special day. I know.
It's
I would
like
do
a
that.
movie.
I would do that all over again. And it was just this one day and this 1 hour on these horses, but it's one of those things. It was just slower.
Yes.
And teaching our children to be like, oh, we're going to a bookstore. We're going to an organ concert or a piano, those kind of things I really enjoyed. That. Yeah. Because I was a Disney girl. Like I've been to Disney over 17 times. I think I stopped counting. But my parents raised me going a lot.
I lived in Orlando.
Oh, yeah.
I literally lived in Disney City.
Like you're saying you lived it, not like you went that much. You like physically lived there.
I physically lived.
Oh, I didn't know
in
that.
Orlando. Yes.
Okay. Well, you were probably
a chunk of my life.
Wow.
And
you were probably so over that.
I was so.
I enjoyed it the first 17 times. I would say that I was like, hey, I never thought about like camping or something different.
Yes.
Like this. Yeah.
Just that slow
nice.
down is nice. So, okay. Well, I definitely want to get into homeschooling and wisdom and all that you have to offer. So I kind of want to get a little bit of your backstory and talk about like when you were thinking about your future as a mom, did you always know, like, was that a desire that God put in your heart from an early age? Like, yes, I want to have a big family. Yes, I want to be a mom. Like, when did he start to put that in your heart?
Well, I did not always have that in my heart. I was actually thinking I would be more of a business person or just more like whatever I would like to accomplish, or I'm going to get my doctorate and I'm going to do these things. And I had a general idea, and then enter my husband, who was called to be a pastor, was already pastoring. That I wasn't raised in a ministry home. I was raised in a business family. So it was kind of like, oh, well, this is different, like the church life. And so God was molding me and shaping me and getting ready for more that he had for me. But that, being with a pastor was that was a shift, a softer approach maybe to life and to valuing the local church and home and family. I did have a brother and a mom and dad, stable home, but we were not homeschooled, or we were not, I wasn't even home a lot. Like I was at school or piano lessons or sports, and I didn't do my own laundry. I did not do dishes growing up. I remember doing the dishes one time in 3rd grade. And I remember it because it was the one time. And I remember doing my first load of laundry at Evangel University. Stood there at the college and looked at it. And the girl walked up. She's like, do you need help? I was like, I actually do. She's like, have you never done laundry? And I was like, no, I haven't. And I'm not proud to be like, oh, I had I don't feel like it was spoiled as much as it was just our family. Like, and my mom had done so much when she was growing up that she wanted us to have things that she didn't have. And so she went the other way which is great. In its own way. Sure. But when the Lord was calling me to have children and to be home and to be in ministry, it was a huge emotional, mental shift for me. So my husband's about 8 years older. So when we were married a year, then we pretty much got pregnant, and then I had my first baby at 23, and didn't really like it at all. I mean, that's part of my testimony that I share in other places, but it was a really hard labor, broke my back in labor, was put on some strong meds. Yeah. I had to have reconstructive surgery. Yeah. I mean, these are moms that episiotomy didn't go so well because I had an intern stitch it. Yeah, don't do that. Like, I had to have redone that. And then I just couldn't really walk. Didn't know I'd broken my back, you know. And so then they figured that out through an x-ray. And then somehow through all of that, ladies, don't laugh, I got pregnant. Why we were together 3 months after all that I just said is like, what were we thinking? But somehow I got pregnant 3 months after the first baby. And so that would have been the shift that God started working in me. Yes. Was I didn't even like the first baby, probably wouldn't have had another baby because it was so difficult. I didn't know how to nurture. I didn't know. I was reading books and following routines, but I didn't have a heart of a mother. And that's where God was calling me to be a mother and not a manager, and just not like caretake, like pat, feed, put the baby down. Yeah. But I had a big disconnect emotionally from the baby. And then I got pregnant, and my story is just that the Holy Spirit just, in a moment, with the Lord, with my Bible, I was just crying, saying, God, I don't want another baby. I don't like the baby I have. And the Lord just said, give me your womb as a resource for the kingdom, and I'll give you grace to have every baby I'm calling you to have. And my thought was not like, yes, Lord, here I am. I was like, well, how many? Because I'm only like 24 at that point. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have like 10 kids if I have one a year. Like, how am I going to? I don't even know what I'm doing. I was learning to cook and clean. I was learning to be home, learning to be I was even a good babysitter, you know, like things that were just hard. But that's where the Lord changed me. And so we went on to have 6 children. 2 are in heaven. We did lose a twin. Of our 5th girl had a twin brother, and then we miscarried a year after that loss, or after she was 1. We had another miscarry. But I feel obedient, and I feel thankful that God has given me the grace. And you don't always have to have a certain number. Right. Like this many or this many, but just the obedient heart to be like, I give this area to you. Yeah. Really changed my life.
And one thing that I didn't plan on going this direction with you at all, but one thing that I have always admired about you is just your transparency and your vulnerability. And so I just want to really like encourage listeners, whatever stage that you're in, if particularly if you are an older mom and you are kind of mentoring those younger moms that are coming up, but really whatever stage you're in, God will use your story. Yeah. And he'll use wherever you are if you will allow him to. If you are vulnerable and you are open and you are transparent with your story and you offer that to him, he'll use that to encourage someone else, and he'll use that as a testimony of his goodness. Like, he longs to use that in you, but you have to be willing to share it. That's good. So I just really love how you're willing to say, I looked at that baby and I was like, well, I don't really want you.
Yeah. And I always say, because you look like my father-in-law. I mean, she literally looked like my husband's dad. I was like, what is this? I was like, after laboring like 24 hours and hadn't broke my back and didn't know, but that was, they just hand me this big baby, 8 pounds. I was like, what? I was like, wow, looks like your dad. I was like, okay. I know. That wasn't a good start, but I mean, she's 23 now. We are super close, like best friends. But at that time I was like, oh my word, what is this?
But it empowers other people. It gives them boldness and courage. Okay, I'm going to share a story.
Do it. I will surprise you.
Yes. Because you do not know this story. But when I was in youth group, this was very early on. If you have boys listening, you might want to send them away. Okay. We were in the cafe. You are not going to remember this, but we were having a little like girls like discipleship time, and you were talking to us. I think Scotty had taken the boys and you had taken the girls, and we were talking about all things just like female. And you were like, okay, girls, like we're just going to talk about some things.
What did I say?
Talking. Well, it was so great. We were talking about periods, and then I was so embarrassed because it was. At that time, it was like everyone used tampons. Everybody did. And if you didn't, ew. It was, ew. And I remember I was so embarrassed because it was really, really painful for me to use a tampon. And I didn't know why at the time. And then later we figured out why. But I couldn't. I could not use them. And it was such a source of embarrassment. And I just remember you, I don't know why, but this like always stood out to me. I remember you standing up there and saying, and you're like, I don't use them. I don't like them. I don't like the way they feel. And I wear pads. And I was like,
it's true.
because I loved
it
you
freeing?
so much. And when you said that, I was like, yes,
that is classic.
like it was.
You're like,
this
we are
moment.
kindred spirits. We don't use tampons. This is going to be a forever friendship. And here we are.
So
I
it
don't
was
remember
the
that.
silliest
That's so
thing,
funny.
but all of that just to say, like, God will use little things, and when you're just open about who you are, and you're confident in the way that He made you, and you're willing to be like, hey, this is who I am, and I'm okay with that. I really touched on that in the last episode with Sarah when we were talking about comparison. And I told this story about Reed, and he had bought these pants and they weren't name brand, and he got them from Walmart, and he was like, that's okay. I got them from Walmart. It's no big deal.
That's so good.
It's like people are drawn to that confidence because it's confidence in the Lord. It's like, hey, that's okay. I am who I am. This is who He made me to be.
Yes.
And I love that about myself, because it's who I am in Christ.
If everybody had that,
Yeah.
how much more content we would feel,
Yeah.
and how much happier everybody would be with themselves.
Absolutely. All right. And before we wrap up this episode, I definitely want to make sure that we hit on your ministry opportunities and especially Mothergood. So if you could take a second and talk about all the ministry that you guys do, I think our listeners would really appreciate that.
I do invite everyone to check out mothergood.us. It's on Instagram. That's kind of the handle. And really the page is very raw. I wouldn't say it's been AI perfected. It's very much like when the Lord tells me to say something on there, I go. So I don't over post or share just like a full-time job. I honestly spend most of my time with my children or homeschooling or doing ministry, but it is a place I would invite you to join just to stay connected or to send a message or ask a question. It's on mothergood.us, Instagram and Facebook. And that falls under what my husband and I do is called Realife Family Ministries. So we are full-time pastors in Oklahoma City, but we also on the side do parenting and marriage conferences. So we have, I think, 7 this year in different states. So we do travel and do marriage and parenting things. And that's called Real Life Family. You can find that on our website, Real Life Family Ministries or reallifefamily.org. And if I could come and share it with your mom's group or your church, I absolutely am in a season for that and would love that after being home for 25 years, basically, or we've been married 25 years, I should say. But I do feel like the Lord has put in our hearts to really pour life into families, into marriages, and that the Spirit of the Lord should really start that revival that we're all longing for in the end days and in our local churches to come from the home, from the grandparents, from the parents, from the children, the teenagers. So we really believe that the local church and the family are the two places and the ways that the Lord uses His Spirit to move throughout the world globally would just be through the home and family and in the local church.
That is so amazing. And I love that you guys are involved in ministry as a family. What an awesome privilege. If you have a need for a speaker at an event maybe coming up in your community, Scotty and Casey are the real deal. I have watched them live out a lot of life together, and they would be just a really great choice to encourage your community or just as an individual. I really would encourage you to check them out, check out their page, give them a follow. And I know they would appreciate that. That's the calling on their heart, is really just to encourage families and marriages and educators, moms and dads. That's what they want to do. That's the calling that God's put on their life. So thank you for being with us today. And until next time, happy learning.